What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Sailors Lounge podcast. This is episode 8. We're talking about DAOs today. I'm your host, Ocean Jim, and I got Robin with me, and some special guests today, Alex Nafis and Noel. So today we're talking about DAOs. Before I get started, our Sailors Lounge podcast today is sponsored by Absentia, catalyzing latent human capital for social impact. Their mission, decentralizing the world for good. Absentia helps institutions, organizations, and coordinated digital identities build decentralized autonomous organizations, DAOs, that are community-owned and executed. You can find them on absentia.com or find them on Twitter at Absentia. Cool. So we got Alex in the podcast just because today I wanted to talk about DAOs and just our own ocean DAO, ocean ecosystem. So Alex, if you just want to give a quick introduction about yourself, and then yeah.
Super. Yeah. Great to be here. And thanks so much for hosting Jim and Robin. So my background is in research and investing in the crypto space, growing products and communities, and more recently have been deep diving on DAOs. So as we know, DAOs first came to fruition right around 2016 with the first Ethereum DAO, and kind of blew up with the exploit. So they hard forked, and that's why we have the Ethereum Classic and ETH chains due to the DAO fork. So that was kind of my first introduction to DAOs. But before that, I heard about ETH in 2015. Printed out a private key QR code, stuck it in a desk drawer, didn't think much of it. 2017 rolled around, ended up linking up with a group of people online, and we ended up getting like the first block in the first transaction in the BAT ICO, and that was kind of like, oh my God, like here's the future of fundraising. So really got involved in some of the ICOs in 2017, ended up moving out to San Francisco, started co-organizing the SF Ethereum Developers Meetup, got to meet and rub shoulders with a lot of the core builders in the space, continuing to see new projects coming online, and kind of working and getting in where can fit in, and hosting these events. And then that was through 2018. At the start of 2019, linked up with a staking as a service startup. It was called Eon. So we were building as more proof of stake blockchains were coming online. How are these blockchains going to be validated? Are people going to want to run their own validators themselves, or come to a staking as a service provider? So had nodes up on Tezos, on Cosmos, on IrisNet, which was a Cosmos hub, and then was work in progress on Polkadot. But unfortunately, in late 2019, ended up winding it down. And then during 2020, got involved with Metacartel DAO. So Metacartel is a grants DAO as well. So but and we'll dive on this a little later, but it's a Moloch DAO. And through that community, I ended up getting into Metacartel Ventures, and investment DAO. And through Metacartel Ventures, met the co-founders of Ocean, Bruce and Trent. And then through that collaboration, was brought on to kind of help incept or summon, like the meme, like the DAO summoner, to summon Ocean DAO. And it's been fantastic, for the last, that was in Q4 of 2020. So it's been fantastic to be involved with and collaborate with the ocean community, and meet all the all the fabulous people in our protocol, and hang out every week with you guys on town hall. So that's kind of where I've been, the interest in DAOs, and then kind of what we're up to now.
Yeah, that's really interesting background. I do definitely want to like talk about some of the Moloch DAO. I think when I first heard about DAOs was the Meta Cartel back when I was like deep diving into like crypto and just getting into the crypto space. I think what led me to Ocean was I was like looking into the Polkadot ecosystem, and I guess I was watching a lot of Chico Crypto. I think for most crypto like heads out there, they know about Chico Crypto, and he talked about like following like the devs, and um when you like I guess when you like go down the rabbit hole of following like developers, like Metacartel is like one of those I guess rabbit holes that you just like go down, and there's a lot I guess that Metacartel like grants, and thought like has a bunch of projects like within within the system. But just anyways, that's kind of like where I got into. So Moloch DAO is definitely something that I do want to like talk about. I think before the last episode where we talked with Trent, we talked about AI DAOs, and that was yeah, that was so mind blowing. I think Noelle was talking about how she was so mind blown about that episode. I know she wanted to come on this episode and just deep dive into that. But so where do you think? Okay, well, let's talk a bit about our little ocean ecosystem first before we dive, really deep into like other DAOs and stuff. So Ocean, for those that don't know, Ocean DAO started. Um, when did we start? I think in barely like
November.
November. I think was it? I think we had our first town halls in November, or uh,
Yep.
yeah. So we've only been around for, sorry, I can't do math, but almost like what, 5 or 6, 7 months. Just really barely new. If you guys have been following the Ocean DAO ecosystem, come into the town halls, we now have quite a lot of projects or teams that have evolved from Ocean DAO and from the grants. Kind of really big, well, kind of a big one, but long term, or kind of like a OG is Data Whale. Um, that we've like Data Whale is pretty mysterious though. Like we've never like seen or heard from them. But they're still building, and they still have, I just haven't seen a grant from them. And then also Robin here is a long-term long time Ocean DAO member, or well, Ocean DAO grantee from like the first running, I think, with Data Union app. So yeah, let's
I
just
just participated later because we were in the shipyard program, and back then it was mutually exclusive, either one or the other. So in the first 2 rounds, we did not participate.
How do you feel about the processes now, Robin? You're very
Oh, this round it's going to be very, very interesting. I mean, we just experienced this big drop in the market, and now in this round it was changed to be token based and not dollar based anymore, and that's going to change the game a lot. Like there's a maximum cap, 18,000 tokens. I'm not sure. I mean, on Wednesday I wanted to ask anyways, but if the team is going to stick with that, because now this is a significant different amount than before, and yeah, this will cause a lot of changes. I mean, it's a dynamic world. Crypto has always been like this. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Things are ever changing, and yeah, you have to deal with that. So yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I mean, it's very interesting. This round is going to be really, really, really very interesting. I mean, I'm saying this about many rounds, but this one, yeah, is taking the cake for me since in all the rounds that have been happening so far.
yeah, this crash was wild. It's so unexpected. Well, maybe it was expected, but nobody knew, like, nobody had the crystal ball to like say like, okay, the crash is gonna happen on this day, you know. So for those just entering the chat on the in the live stream right now, we are talking about DAOs, Ocean DAO specifically with Alex. Robin has just was just discussing about his opinion on the processes. Um, so Alex, what do you so you know, for this time being of like building Ocean DAO, um, like, you know, how do you feel? Like, what's your sentiment? Is, you know, I think it takes a lot to work, you know, build a DAO, even though like we don't even know like how to build a DAO, or even, you know, I guess there's not really like a blueprint to be like, okay, hey, this is how you build a DAO and this is how you organize people. I guess you can just take like, you know, bits and pieces from different other structures that kind of mimic a DAO. But yeah.
Definitely. There's a few threads I want to pull on here. It's you know, kind of the the design like philosophy, and you know, kind of the coordination into you know, a DAO, and then you know, Ocean DAO specifically, you know, how it's implemented, and you know, why Ocean DAO, to give folks you know, a little more context about, you know, what is Ocean DAO and how it works. So yeah, on the first thread, kind of how, what was the design philosophy and how it got implemented. So this is quite frankly, it's a unique, for lack of a better like expression, it's a unique job, because as a DAO coordinator, a summoner, you actually, the success of how successful you are is how well you're able to give up control and coordination. And you know, it's because it is a community, it is a built by, you know, a decentralized by decentralized stakeholders. So the objective is to empower those people. And how can, you know, we have everyone in the Ocean community be able to be their own, you know, leader within the DAO. So to have a, you know, a DAO, a leader of a DAO is almost a paradox. But you know, starting out, you do need, you know, someone or a group of core folks, you know, really, you know, crafting culture and building the first iterations of the, you know, the structure and the tooling. But then, yeah, over time, the idea is to, you know, really, you know, let it sail and let it go into the into the community. So where we started with Ocean DAO was with the Ocean Protocol's vision for long-term sustainability of Ocean Protocol. So the idea is, if you're able to give a grant out of the DAO treasury to a project or to an entity or an individual that can contribute positive ROI back to the protocol from which it's getting funding, that can create a self-sustainability loop where it's almost like a VC, you know, might think, oh, I can, if I give $10,000, I give $50,000 to someone, you know, how are they going to be able to create $500,000 worth of value? And so this is kind of the idea with OceanDAO, as that positive ROI value comes back to the protocol, it's able to fund some of that value, can then fund more projects that can contribute positive ROI, and so on and so forth, with the self-sustainability, arriving at the self-sustainability loop. And so to do that, that's the implementation of the OceanDAO. So for context, there are a lot of different flavors of DAOs. So OceanDAO is a grants DAO, where it's a populist DAO where just by holding the native ERC20 Ocean token, you have voting rights on who receives a yes or no on who receives grants. Other DAOs and other protocols that have ERC20, they have grants with their DAOs, something like Compound or Uni or SNX, Synthetics, but they also have governance improvement proposals or protocol improvement proposals where it'd be like, oh, Compound should support XYZ asset as collateral, or Cream.finance should support XYZ asset as collateral, and then it goes, so it fundamentally changes the protocol. So OceanDAO governance does not have protocol improvement proposals. It's just focused on giving grants for that self-sustainability loop. The reason
yet, right?
So there has been some discussion. What does voting look like on a wider range of topics include, and this could start with core DAO decisions. Should the funding cap be X amount of tokens or Y amount of tokens? So that would be perhaps the next step of if we expanded it from grants, but we really are focused on nailing the mechanism for the self-sustainability loop before thinking about expanding to anything else. But that's the core philosophy, and the reason why we think this way is it's a public open source protocol, and if you want to make a protocol improvement proposal, so to speak, you can do that just by forking the code and making the changes you want to see, and then go to build that. So that's kind of the thought there. But back to so what OceanDAO is, it is this grants DAO, and then the 0 to 1, incepting OceanDAO was what's the tooling and what's the mechanism to implement that self-sustainable a first stab, version 0.01 of taking a stab at that vision. So we started, as Jim mentioned, kind of in Q4 last year. So started designing in October, started having the first community calls in November, and then had our first grants round in early December, I believe it was. So we took a look at all the DAO tooling, for the most part, all the DAO tooling in this space so far, and that's what's nice. It's still so early. You're able to get a grasp on the ecosystem. So took a look at Aragon, DAO Stack, some of the early on-chain fund execution stuff with Gnosis Safe or Gnosis SnapSafe, I believe it is. Looked at Moloch DAOs, and then arrived at how we are built currently with Snapshot. So Snapshot was a project that was built by some of the core balancer team, and then have subsequently spun out as their own, building Snapshot as on its own. And then so that's kind of the voting mechanism. So Snapshot is a way where you come with your Web3 wallet and you sign in, and it's able to you're able to sign with how many tokens you have in arbitrary tokens for arbitrary protocol. You're able to sign a message if you have those tokens for those governance, for that protocol's governance proposals, and vote with your tokens. And so that's kind of the vote component, and that's only one component in a DAO stack, so to speak. So you have coordination, you have communication, you have chat, you have discussion, you have the proposal itself, then the vote, and then the treasury. So in that stack, the discussion, we use Discord. For proposals, we use Discourse for submitting the proposal and writing feedback. And then the vote, as mentioned, and the methodology, Snapshot. And then for treasury, you can do some DAOs just do a multi-sig and have the DAO funds in there. Some do, once the vote finishes, have on-chain fund execution, and the funds just get sent. And then currently in Ocean DAO, we're using a web app called Request to, DAO recipients, grant recipients just end up invoicing the Ocean Protocol Foundation and end up getting a grant that way. But this is just, as mentioned, each one of these points in the DAO component stack, there's so many different flavors and ways to implement, and it's really taking case by case, DAO by DAO basis of what does your community, what works best for your community, what's the objective you're trying to arrive at. Are you building proprietary DAO software? We've had, instead of off-the-shelf tooling, like Compound has built its own proprietary. I actually believe it's open source, so but they built their own DAO voting and proposal web app, or Web3 app, and then just DAO by DAO basis and listening for feedback from your community. But that's kind of the methodology of the thought of the thoughts around how we implemented the components in our DAO stack.
I know there's some things with like the grants. I think I just seen this on Twitter or some things, but have you seen like the downsides of like just having like grant funding, or like like some downsides of I guess just grant funding in general? I guess giving out grants, like what it like you give these projects like grants, but what if these projects never end up giving an ROI in the long term, or like I guess
Great question. Yeah, so go ahead, Robin.
If you don't give a grant, you can never get anything, right? I mean, if you don't try, you cannot know. And I mean, the things that are now built are like really, I mean, like Roberto is now building some stuff on top of what we have right now. I'm looking forward to that, what will come out of it with Notion and being able to track things, And then there's a Project Pearl, which also got a grant last round, and they are building a platform to make a much more comprehensible collection of information. So yeah, but Alex, I stole the word from you. You continue. Sorry.
And Robin's right. I echo what Robin said, and there are downsides, and it's how do you create the mechanisms and in how do you put these pieces in place to disincentivize or to create friction for folks that are trying to take advantage of the system, and how can you shine light into what when there is a bad actor, and like what does a penalty look like. And so with grants specifically, if someone creates a proposal and this could be, it's not a positive ROI. So, hey, this project it's not aligned with ocean mission. It has nothing to do with ocean, or there's actually, we don't feel like they can execute. So this is where the voting comes in, and building the tools, as Robin's mentioned, like better transparency in those into the proposal itself. So how can we have better due diligence, so any token holder can come in and really do their research on the project. So then when voting window opens on these grants, on these grant proposals, people are able to, if it's not a positive ROI project, the community just comes and votes no. So how can we build the mechanism to most effectively vote no on a project that is not a positive ROI project, and in the same time giving instead of an unqualified no, it just, hey, someone votes no and there's no reason behind it. A qualified no, being able to say no and then post in Discord like, hey, I think this project can't contribute positive ROI for this reason or the other, and then the project can collaborate and get feedback, and other token holders can discuss. But the mechanism of yes and no voting, straightforward enough there. And then if they are to receive a grant, they could just go check out and go do something else, and they've just got their grant money and run. So how can we have better ROI tracking and more milestone insights and reporting? So if I were to have received a grant, how can I come back and update the community and give progress? So then if I come back for another grant, they can see, oh, you haven't shipped, you haven't delivered on what you said you were gonna. So then there's a reason to vote no, perhaps, because what this project has said they were going to do, they haven't yet. So there's two examples just with the no voting, and then better insight ROI tracking are kind of potential attack or risk vectors of a grants DAO. But we feel like as the fidelity of tooling increases, better user experience to track the project goes up. Hopefully that alleviates some of the risk. And one of the most important things is increasing voter turnout. So as of Ocean DAO round 4, so we just finished round 5, but as of round 4, we had 255 unique Ocean voter turnouts across all the rounds. And so 255 out of the entire universe of Ocean token holders isn't actually that much. It's a very small percent sliver of total Ocean voters. So how can we increase that voter turnout? And with more people voting, that's more eyes on these projects. So getting more eyes on and voter turnout is also really important for hedging the risks of the grants DAO, so to speak.
That's actually a really good turnout, though. I mean, 250 unique wallets. I mean, for just how young we are. I know.
Do you have a comparison number from other projects?
Yeah.
Do you know in other DAOs how many voters there are?
So I've seen in some of the major in a top 10. I'm trying to remember which one it was. Maybe it was a major governance vote for their core protocol. Whether it was synthetics or compound, I'm forgetting the exact one, but they had quite a substantial voter turnout, a magnitude order turnout. But I do think as awareness spreads, another thing here is just awareness generally. Like most people have their tokens. I didn't even know I could vote. And so, some communities and other communities are just more privy to the fact that your token isn't just an asset, but it's also has governance with it. So you specifically answer that question. It's DAO by DAO has different voter turnout. I've been really impressed by our, as Jim was mentioning, our turnout to date, especially just as, hey, it came from there was no DAO and it's incepted now. So, but yeah, other projects just have, I don't have specific numbers, but I've seen turnout just across the board, definitely.
I mean, one thing that we do, or like I made the proposal to increase the number of voters by unlocking people's wallets that have staked them somewhere. And I mean, we have the marketplace now already in place, but yeah, I've been looking into Bancor, and it's not so easy. But now, Roberto approached me, and Ocean O looks pretty easy to do. So the $0, and there's also $34 million staked. So maybe that's then going to be the next choice for bringing in people. And basically, that's the idea. If you have your token staked, then normally you are excluded because you don't own them. But because of the blockchain, you can basically find out, okay, there was a transaction into one of these staking pools. Okay, now if you are still in there, that can also be checked whether you exited or not. And then these can, the ones that are still in the contract, they can be like counted which wallet they belong to, because the wallet sent it there. And then these people can also vote with these tokens. And that's like, I think, a very interesting concept, I mean, that's something where, people who are very aware of what they want to do with their tokens gain more tokens, or be active with the tokens, then these people can also vote. I think that's a great way of approaching people that actually do something with the tokens. If somebody bought them and forgot about them, then it probably will not be the people that will also be interested in voting. And if they have their tokens already on Binance or another large exchange, centralized exchange, there you can never really track what they're doing with the tokens, because like the sales and buying is only done in their SQL database. So, you don't really know who still has what. So you can't let these people vote either, except if you collaborate with such a platform, and then you have to trust them that they tell you the truth about what is in their SQL database. Yeah. So I think going in the decentralized direction here is a good strategy. And I hope that each of these staking pools will bring maybe 50% more voters or something like this in this direction.
So I mean, have we seen like an increase because of the unlock of Ocean Market tokens? Because I don't know. Well, I also think too, because like, so if say we do unlock Bancor, for the most part, I don't know. I kind of like see like, I kind of just thinking that some like, yeah, we do have like the access to like vote and stuff, but also most people, I don't know, I feel like it's just there's also a bit of effort to vote, whether it's like knowing like these projects, having to read up on the proposals, and then like, I mean, for some people, you never really know what you're voting yes or no to. And some people could just be like, oh yeah, this project's name is cool, say yes. And then without I guess even, looking at the proposal or not, or I just,
but I mean,
right.
is it different from voting in a normal election? I mean, you can also just vote for this person because you like the face on TV.
Yeah.
Do you really check what they will be doing?
That's how Trump ended up as president. So
yeah, exactly. So
you never know, right? I mean, but you still want to give the people a right to vote as everyone else, and yeah.
I guess, well, okay, before we get onto this topic, I did want to introduce Noel just real quick. I forgot to. I was so excited about Alex's DAOs that I forgot to introduce Noel. Noel, if you want to introduce yourself, and I think you probably have some questions for Alex.
I do. Hello, everyone. I'm Noel. I'm part of the Ocean Ambassador Program, and I'm working on some projects related to the ocean ecosystem. Most of them are funded by the Ocean DAO. I've been an active ocean and crypto investor since probably 2019, and I'm always adding to my ocean bag. At least I can say that one. I'm a filmmaker and film producer by trade, by craft, and I worked in that for about 8 to 10 years. And I got bitten by the Web3 bug and privacy issues after leaving America. So yeah, now I've fallen down the rabbit hole with the rest of everyone else, and I find this DAO issue super fascinating. And I love listening and reading all of Trent's discussions in this, and can really get lost in where this could take us. So I'm just trying to learn as much as possible before maybe putting my hand into building something.
Yeah, same here. I think that's why I wanted this episode to like kind of go deep into DAOs, because I have a vision in my head to also build a DAO here locally, for just like creators, artists, or like even I don't know, even like thinking about like move. So Noel, you're in like filmmaking and stuff, and I've also kind of like I've deep into like filmmaking. I just haven't like worked on like studios, but I was also thinking too, like maybe even like movie production studios could become DAOs in the future, you know. And so I mean, Alex was talking about the different toolings now, I guess, but I don't know. Alex, do you think like the tooling now that we have, can someone can just like come and be like, okay, I can just start my own? Because I think with me and Noel, some of the places or sites, like we are kind of just like researching on like things like, okay, how do we even get started? And she sent me like a company to like look at. I haven't looked at it yet, but I guess there's some companies starting to pop up to be that are saying like, hey, we can make a DAO for you,
Makes sense. This is so at the end, firstly, a DAO is definitely it's an ethos. It is a mentality. It is a culture. It's fundamentally a culture. Just the shift from a ladder hierarchy of an organization to a more flat, trending to hopefully a more merit based organization. And how for the objective you're trying to accomplish with this organization format or more flat structure, you then will look at how to coordinate. So there is this there's this thought in the crypto space that a lot of human problems, if you just deduce them, why, understanding the core, original issue with why, that's a human problem. There's this thing in crypto, they say that you can, at the end of the day, arrive at it's a failure in human coordination. So why, this human problem exists is it's because of a human coordination failure. And you might hear this other term in blockchain or crypto land called Moloch. So Moloch comes from this blog, Star Slate's Codex, and it talks about Moloch being the god of human coordination failure. So if you're able to slay Moloch, slay the god of human coordination failure, you can more effectively, coordinate. So these are what kind of the DAOs are trying. So with that ethos of being a flat organization, you also need to solve for the mechanism of coordination failure. So how can you improve coordination? And that's where you arrive at DAO tooling. So what are the implementations to most effectively take a stab at more effectively coordinating? And there are so many. So on a hey, I'm showing up today. I want to start a DAO. You could be quick to like, oh, hey, I'm just going to use this off-the-shelf DAO tooling, but that could be, putting yourself in a box. So it's really trying to understand what you're trying to accomplish from like a first principles, and then understanding, what X DAO tooling does, what Y DAO tooling does, just so you, because each implementation of that DAO tooling tries to solve some aspect of coordination a little differently. And luckily right now, it's still are in the early, DAOs are really early, really in their, just starting. So it is a pretty short list of, specific implementations. But if you understand the core reason why you want to have a flat organization, and understand what coordination failures and coordination you are trying to solve, then it doesn't necessarily, matter what inning you show up to DAOs in, what stage you show up to DAO in, because then you'll just, hey, this is my problem. I can go look at the, whatever tooling might exist in the future, what tooling exists now that does potentially, solve that. So right now, we touched on, there's the populace. I like to call them like, and this is a hat tip to some of the meta cartel learnings. So you have permissioned DAOs and you have populous DAOs, I like to call them. So populous DAOs are kind of free to entry, meaning there is no barrier to entry. You can just, other than capital. So, or we can touch on this in a moment, but you go and you buy your tokens off of, the ERC20 tokens off the market. And now by nature of having those ERC20 tokens, those are governance tokens, and now you can vote. Another cool thing about populous DAOs, another way to, instead of buying them, you can earn them. So by contributing to the protocol, you can now, by using it, by being a stakeholder, you can now earn some of these governance tokens, and you just come vote. And then in order to exit the DAO, you just sell your tokens. And it's the method there. For permission DAOs, these are things like the Moloch DAO framework. You actually you contribute your own capital to a shared pool. So you have individuals contributing to the shared wallet, shared pool, and they'll issue you fractional DAO shares back. And then for how many fractional DAO shares you have of the pie is how many pro rata votes you get on proposals. So it's really the highest capital. If you have the most capital in that wallet, you have the most voting shares. So, and in order to leave the DAO, instead of selling in a populous DAO, in a permission DAO, you would rage quit. That's and you just send your DAO shares back in, and you get your whatever pro rata underlying is left in your contribution wallet, or in the shared wallet you'd get out. So these are two. So looking at your methodology of why you want to start a DAO, then looking at kind of which approach you're trying to take for implementation, and then kind of looking at the tooling for each type of implementation. So hopefully that color is a little helpful.
Yeah, and you have to see. Sorry, but you have to see also that, I mean, the snapshot tool that Ocean is using has a very, very big advantage over many other tools. It's like off-chain, like gasless. And if you look nowadays at, if you have decision making with gas votes, then you will not have many people participating if it's not about a lot of money, because the gas price is so high.
Yeah, that's key.
So I think it was a good choice, but I mean, from my point of view, you also have to see Ocean Protocol has a lot of funds in the background, which which are going to be distributed. And if you two want to start a DAO from scratch, then you still have to think about where are your funds going to come from that people are going to talk about or that they're going to make decisions about it. So that's then always I think that's one of the factors that you have to take into consideration. I mean, you could make a token generation event, for example, and then you could say, okay, we take these tokens and we put them in a DAO, and then now we're going to decide together what's going to happen with them. But yeah, then you still have to make such a good case that people want to buy the token in the first place. With the Moloch DAO, it's more like, okay, you attract people that have money or that want to put funds in behind a certain purpose, and then then you have your thing which everybody can make a decision about how to distribute it. Yeah. So I mean, this is it's very complicated. I think in the Aragon DAO you can. I saw this I saw a talk from them. You can do it already on a smartphone. Everybody can easily participate, but the problem is that it's all on chain. So yeah. Each vote, if you say okay, should we give some money for the rainforest, or should we make this movie? Every time voting is then depends on the daily gas cost volume, or so then, yeah, it's going to also be not so easy, especially if you want to convince people in a local community. Then the question is, why should we now do this all with the blockchain and paying so much for all the transactions? So yeah, maybe you can also do it like an offline DAO, you just decide in a real location or something like this, could also be the case.
To circle back, Alex, back to Ocean, I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned it earlier as an open issue with it. How would you assure, if you had open DAO voting for protocol improvements, that they would only be improving, for everyone and not those holding the greatest amount of tokens?
So a couple things there. So there's, if Ocean ever did protocol improvement proposals on its DAO. So, we do have a kind of in our mission, in charter of the DAO that, we're not, at the moment, we're not focused on protocol improvement proposals. And that's not really, while that could be something we address in the future, it's not, the stance is, hey, to do protocol improvement proposals, you would, instead of that, you'd just go fork the protocol. And so right now, just really just trying to nail and focus on, the mechanisms for grant funding and the self-sustainability loop. But the other element in that question, which is something we're very much so looking at, is how to address, hey, it's one token, one vote in Ocean DAO voting. How do you address those that do have a large position relative to others, and can they come and swing voting? And how can you ensure that it's not just voting on their behalf? And all these sorts of issues that come up with, or not necessarily issues, but trade-offs. Address these trade-offs that come with one token, one voting vote implementation. So as more and more DAOs in the space are they're also running into this problem, we've taken note from a few other voting mechanisms. So there are these things called conviction voting and quadratic voting. And this is, they try to address if you have a lot of votes, that means you could, if you have a lot of tokens, you could kind of civil attack a proposal, just you could move token from different wallets, and you can just say no on all these different, from these different wallets on these proposals. So, but yeah, looking at other implementations of voting, quadratic voting. So Gitcoin has kind of pioneered this implementation of voting. So funds come in to a pot, and then as proposals come in, they have if if a proposal gets votes or money allocated to it, a percentage of the money in an original pot gets assigned to that proposal in this kind of it can one vote dollar, and as more marginal vote dollars come in, the more amount of funding that can come from this like main funding contribution pot. And that's like one mechanism that, so smaller grant recipients could actually end up, if they have more votes assigned to them, could end up getting, or rather smaller grant recipients, if they have more dollars assigned to them, but just from less people, they could end up getting more funding that way. And there's just a handful of other vote implementations that I'm still, to be quite frank, exploring and trying to learn a lot more about. So definitely still educating myself on these different vote mechanisms, but I know that they're out there, and that a few projects have taken stab at addressing the issue of whale token voting and one token, one vote DAO implementation.
Well, maybe one mechanism, not regarding the DAO, but regarding more fundamental issues, would be maybe addresses. People have to take an exam or something to know what in the world they're voting on. Because I feel there are a lot of people who, I mean, as Jim said, we were talking about DAOs. Okay, yeah, but truthfully, I don't really know much about it. I'm not going to be opening up one next week. And I feel that a lot of people are opening DAOs not knowing whether or not it's even needed. And maybe a mechanism could be somehow proving your knowledge in what you're actually voting on. So it's not just these whales who have their big bag of tokens influencing it. I don't know. That's just a comment, but.
So there has been the idea of, hey, if you are a populous DAO where anyone can come and vote, to actually do one more layer of like permissions on top of voting, where, hey, you do need to cross some fidelity of knowledge, or hey, you're voted on by your peers, and you then would receive some sort of hey, I'm a DAO. I have the DAO voter attribution now on my wallet, that I do have those permissions, and then it gives like one more level of kind of credentials to those voting on DAO proposals. So that's definitely been something that I've seen pop up in discussions just around populous DAOs. If anyone can come and vote, how do you gauge knowledge?
Wouldn't that, I guess, just add more friction? I guess adding just another layer.
Definitely, yeah. So I like to. It's interesting, and this is something like I've really been trying to address. Just when I see new tooling and new implementations come up, if it's friction or if it's a problem, well, what's really trying to reframe them as what's the trade-off? Like, what's the trade-off, in this implementation versus the other? And is that trade-off beneficial to the core coordination that you're trying to solve? Like, back to the first principle of like, hey, we're trying to solve coordination failure. Is that trade-off, something that is worthy? And this is so yes, it is a trade-off. And hey, I am decreasing the amount of available token voters, but I'm increasing the potential amount of knowledge and expertise and due diligence on a proposal by proposal basis. The jury's still out. And on this thread, there's a really important thing that does need to be addressed is, if you're building a DAO, you're making trade-offs at a lot of different layers of your component stack, and if you're trying to make it super simple, the layers of abstractions, like you've made a lot of trade-offs, making it easier and easier. So at each trade-off you're making, that's in essence a governance decision. And as your governance surface area increases, the amount of attack vectors also increases. So this is one of the core things, like in actually implementing a DAO, understanding like at each one of your trade-offs you're making, what are those subsequent like attack vectors that could be made, and how do you you want to be in a place to minimize your overall attack surface governance wise, but if you are making those trade-offs, understanding how people might exploit them. So it is for that example of, hey, you add a permissioned that friction that Jim, you were talking about, it's like, well, that's an example of something that could be an attack vector too. So understanding your governance surface area in and of itself, and how that works with how you're choosing to make decisions or trade-offs in your DAO is pretty important.
I guess I want to go back to I guess we were talking about the whole, okay, that's how Trump got voted in, I guess, with the whole populist thing. Since, I mean, I guess if you do add the permission of having the knowledge, I mean, wouldn't it still be kind of I guess political? I mean, I think now with the new DAO, I guess with our new DAO voting, I think the last round was just very very political in a way, because now everybody's grouping and everybody's partnering, and then new guys are coming in and seeing there's huge support for this and that, and it was a very hot and heavy last DAO round,
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it's just addressing how DAOs can relate to politics. I would say, we'll eventually and local elections and things like that. I will eventually cross that bridge. There's one project called Vidoni. I think they actually just got bought by Aragon, or they joined the Aragon project. So taking a guess at that. The U.S. politics, that's based off of the Electoral College, not a populist vote. So that's one stab at that's how elections are implemented here in the U.S. But just addressing the politics, and so we started Ocean DAO. It was this is V.01. This is how we're doing it. And each round, we've listened to community feedback, had community contributors, iterated, and had design choices along the way. So each one of those design choices, every round, has had agreements and disagreements. So the politics, that you're referring to is in round 5, it was, hey, we only 65% of voters, the top 65% of vote recipients, proposal recipients, got a grant. And so hopefully with this new mechanism for round 6, that it's just, hey, you need to have majority yes. Hopefully that strips away some of the politics of trying to now in round 5, it was, you guys were almost against, proposals were against each other, trying to, hey, vote for me, not for someone else. And hopefully in round 6, we've stripped away some of the politics. And after we finish round 6, we'll, hear community feedback and see if maybe it's the politics will have shifted to another area or aspect of the DAO. But yeah, hopefully your assessment and of how those kind of tribes forming behind different grants, I would say we felt that, and hopefully, listened and iterated from people's feedback.
I mean, one important factor for me is like that right now, the people who make the grants are still an important factor in the number of votes. Like especially now with the marketplace, say there, for example, Data Union has a large data set there, and so alone these votes, the votes from there alone, are an important factor. But as like more and more voters come in and are participating, then it also turns away from this being so important, and then it's more about really what the community thinks. It's of course projects are going to vote for themselves and their allies. That's something that you always will do. But as soon as the participation and the number of voting tokens becomes larger and larger, this will be not such an important factor anymore, And I think that sooner or later we will arrive there. And it's for me, it's like a process, like things have to develop and you have to learn along the way. And so that's really happening. I've been learning so much about how this works and what options you have and what decisions mean, what decisions change, what impact that has. So that's really fascinating. It's really cool to be part of such a process.
Absolutely, yeah, I couldn't agree more.
I was thinking that I'm sure. Everybody's really stretched for time and staff, but maybe I was thinking one of the things that might help is maybe like one-on-one support with grant applicants, but maybe just even like 5 minutes a week. And like I said, I realize nobody has time to hold somebody's hands, but maybe if there was a pathway to onboarding applicants, like I sent these 2 computer science engineer students from the university to the DAO, and they were 2 really shy guys, really sweet, but really smart. And they just, they didn't put their face up. They didn't know what to say. They didn't know what to do. And they're really sharp. And I was like, just listen and, fill out the paperwork, talk about your project. But there seemed to have been, I don't know, that gap. And maybe because also English isn't their first language. I don't know. But maybe that's in the future could be an idea.
Yeah, the sales process will always be important. Well, getting a grant in such a DAO is always also about sales. You have to sell your project to get exposure. Of course, people can find you in the grant proposals. That's one thing. But I think if you have good advertisement, if your proposal really speaks to the people, that's always going to be an advantage. Of course, exceptional ideas will always stand out. That's for sure. But the presentation and showing a face and then people connecting somebody or some people to a project is always going to be important. And then of course, always also the results after you get the grant.
That's a fantastic idea. And so we can have the structure built up, and transparent ROI tracking, the ability for people to come and submit proposals, and we can have that mechanism and structure. We could hypothetically have it perfect, and then it'd still have this issue of just getting people in the top of the funnel. So yeah, just we've had workshops at the end of town halls on how to submit proposals, and some more in the weeds on how to actually go and vote, and how to get tokens in your wallet, and how to submit on our discourse, our forum, your proposal. But yeah, if there's a new entrant and there's like this, hey, I just need to get onboarded, that's a really fantastic idea. And just that one-on-one support could be useful. I just
see it more for young people. Because by the time you get to a certain age, obviously, you've done so many pitch sessions and gone to so many interviews and worked a lot. But I don't know, if you're maybe 19, 20, you're kind of biting your tongue and shy and not sure how you do this.
So yeah, then the idea is always to connect to some more experienced people. So yeah, I've been helping also a lot of, I've looked through a lot of proposals and I gave some input, and people, now in this round, we are also now basically bringing in people to write proposals for the DAO, so that's like one of the things, like also Mark and his team partner, who are doing the marketing research. they find then projects that would be good applicants, and then Scott is his name. So then we the idea is then to take them by the hand, like to say, okay, now you want to make a proposal, write down what you want. We will help you a bit with what is missing, like the DAO specific things, that you think about the ROI and how to calculate it, and what are successful things, and how should it be done? How is this DAO behaving, or something like this? I think that's always something that's going to be the case. And I mean, the idea is to have multiple iterations, but it's also good, to find some people that help you.
Absolutely, well said.
Yeah.
And the community is there. I mean, they can come to the channels, and they should come to the town hall, present themselves. So like last town we had somebody new, and then later they scheduled a call with me, and then they were asking, okay, can you help me? What's the idea? And then like getting a feeling for the community, getting a feeling for the ecosystem. Okay, if then you are so young that you are not willing to do that, yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know if this is then the best way, but yeah, it's always important to talk to some other people,
Yeah.
You raised an interesting point, and so there's the function of making sure Ocean DAO is internally all our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed, and our structure's set up that we're being really competent and really helping out people who want to get engaged. And then there's this other side of the coin of just this and this is a Taoism, a new decentralized autonomous organization like native to it, where and if you've been on crypto Twitter, you've seen this, and it's you don't really ask for in a DAO, in these decentralized communities, you don't really ask for permission anymore. How do I get started? How do I get involved? Well, in a traditional thing, it's like, I gotta find someone who works there. I have to get my warm intro. I gotta get them my CV, my resume, maybe connect, keep networking. And in a DAO, you just, there's an issue, I am interested in it, and I just start doing it. And then all of a sudden, it's really to be able to contribute in a decentralized fashion. You just start, and that's to just tell someone that, perhaps coming in from a traditional structure is kind of a more heady conceptual thing, is you always have to like, well, how can I just start? Like, what does that even mean? And really trying to ease that transition for folks is something I've been thinking about.
Yeah, that's so true. They don't believe it. You keep telling them that. You're like, just go and ask. The who, why, how? No, just go ask. Just get in there. They're like, no, but you can't. Yeah, you do. It's pretty wild.
The meme is like, how do you get hired in the company? Like you apply, you go through the screening process, and then you start working. In the DAO, it's like you go there, you see a problem, you work on it, people see that you can do something, and then you're hired. Like you show results, and that's basically when things are going to happen. So
yeah,
I mean, if somebody would come to my project and solve some problems, open source code, of course, I would have no problem in getting them involved, into the rewards for helping. That's no big deal for me. I don't even have to know where they are, who they are. I don't even ever have to see their face, as long as they, as they do some positive ROI. I mean, I really don't care anymore. And that's, I think, also a change in the mindset. That before this was always so important, how representable somebody is and where they're located and whatever. So does not matter so much anymore.
What's so interesting is, well, at least I think of it is interesting, is so there's this notion in startup land where companies win, where startups win, where companies win. And it's like, we're the best customer service company, or we're the best, what's your key differentiator? And hey, maybe we didn't have the best product, but we had the best, customer service. And so maybe, on a DAO, these like where we win is, there's so many different ways you can be a fantastic DAO, whether that's great onboarding materials or, hey, everyone's been talking about DAOs, but all this, it's not very accessible. So being the best DAO at capturing new people who want to be a part of DAOs, even they might not even know about Ocean, but they want to be a part of a DAO, or the best tooling, so there's so many different ways that a DAO can really be adding value to its community members other than the core mission of the DAO itself, so to speak. It's kind of just more of a BD thing, I guess.
Yeah, have you seen some examples of that in like the Ocean DAO? I think because I know most people think like, oh, if I join this DAO, I'm gonna have like, I guess that's where, well, like that friction of like, okay, like the younger people are coming into like the DAO and just don't know, or like not even younger people, well, younger people, new people, it doesn't like really matter, but just like people just getting started into the DAO or like in another community's DAO, just I guess that yeah, that friction of like, okay, how do I start, or where do I start, or like, and it's funny because like it's basically permissionless and you just start, you just like go and start it. I think, but okay, so I guess my point is the friction is of like, okay, I guess there's a lot of like thinking about it, because like, okay, how do I start, or how do I get in? Because like if I make a proposal, does it have to be on the core mission of like Ocean? Like is like, maybe because that's kind of like my journey. I was like, of me getting into like my proposals and kind of like getting into like Ocean DAO, where I was like, most of my proposal was like, oh, how do I, okay, like I got to build this thing for Ocean, protocol, like, or I'm building this thing, like, but now I'm kind of like seeing things of like, oh, maybe I can build like the Pelican, for example. That's kind of just like a newsletter, like a community newsletter. Um, and I guess it could even like shift into something that's not even, just Ocean, protocol related, I guess, in like the long term, so yeah, have you seen like, I guess maybe examples, or like do you think like, some projects are going to come, like people will come into the DAO and help contribute Ocean, but not even, you know I guess have that like goal of like, oh, I'm helping Ocean's like core mission, or I
Totally makes sense. I understand. I feel like I understand what you're saying, and absolutely. So the and I'll try to work like more general DAO, and then work into Ocean DAO here. And it's like in a grants DAO, you can contribute positive ROI in so many you can contribute so many ways. It's not just building software. There's other non-technical ways that you can get involved in. It's all these different skills and talents, and different ways people add value are so important to a global community, and it's almost innate in how a distribution of a global community will concretize. So there will be different people in there, and the Ocean DAO specifically has we look to it's not just we will fund. The Ocean DAO charter says to fund grants, that are aligned with Ocean's mission and vision, or at least not work against it, right? So things that that do follow that ethos. Oh, it's like, oh, hey, we give this grant a 10,000 token grant. How could that end up contributing? More than 10,000 ocean back. And it's not we're not so concerned about how much, like what's the magnitude of positive ROI back. But it's just more so, is it positive ROI back? Yes or no, as opposed to how much positive ROI back. And because if it is yes, that means it does contribute to the self-sustainability loop. And typically funding is for 5 core project types. So building apps or integrations on Ocean, unlocking data. So, hey, I have a data set, or I know someone who has a data set, and I'm going to try to get that on Ocean Market, or curate that data, get it out on Ocean Market that there are outreach and community initiatives. So, that would be things like a newsletter, a podcast, building Ocean Pelican project that Jim was referring to. So this is non-technical, things that are really developer or community outreach. The fourth is improvements to Ocean Core itself. So someone has come to Ocean DAO previously and received a grant for improving documentation on Ocean. So that's an example of improving Ocean Core. And then the fifth one is to improvements to Ocean DAO itself. So something like Robin's proposal of, at first we were only having voting from Ocean in your wallet, but he came and implemented voting with staked Ocean in Ocean Market. So increasing, voter turnout for Ocean DAO itself. So across those 5 categories, we feel like that's broad enough that captures, the types of projects people would want to build. And, at first we didn't even have improvements to Ocean DAO as a category. But we realized that was a very important category. So, it's not that, no more categories are going to exist in the future. It's more for, just understanding what folks are looking to build. But totally on your question, there's a lot of ways to get involved. It can be technical, it can be non-technical, and how your journey in a DAO evolves. You come with no idea, then you get an idea, and then you get feedback on your idea. You put it up for a proposal. Maybe you'll get funding, maybe not get funding. Get feedback, come back for another stab at receiving funding. And yeah, we've had all sorts of different profiles of folks who've come and had a different kind of story arc with Ocean, but hopefully the framework is helpful for people to really get involved and start building. And the other thing is, by nature of being a token holder, you're a ERC20 token holder, you are a DAO member now, and that goes for most protocols that have you're part of the governance now, and it's just you might not know it yet. So how do we spread that information that, hey, if you're a token holder, you are a voter, you have the ability to vote.
Yeah. So yeah, it's quite a journey for the DAO way. This new Taoism.
I like that.
Yeah. It's just I don't know. And it gets really like even more interesting to bring in the AI DAOs into this, but yeah, we definitely have, like, I guess it's definitely like a journey, and it's like you say, it's all about, I guess, that thing with the coordination failure. That's really like the number one, I guess, problem to solve. And I guess it's always like I think there's something in the background for you, Alex. Or
Oh, let me mute. Sorry.
oh, it's good. But well, I guess it's always the dog chasing his tail of just always trying to solve that problem of coordination failure. And I think I guess to build the DAO is just really building like that community, right?
I mean, in a way, the benefit is that a lot of DAOs are now in the same situation. So, I mean, I see Gitcoin now. I mean, they got a large donation by a generous, Ethereum founder. But now, what are they going to do with the funds? You know, like, so, like in a way, they're like one of the founders always now talks about quadratic land and how he's journeying into that. And I mean, in a way, this coordination, you know, among a group of people that don't know each other, but that somehow want to achieve like the best thing for their community. That's something that really will probably take a long time to solve, you know. And there might be not be one perfect solution, but in the end, the benefit is that all of the DAOs are going into the same direction. You know, they all have the kind of the same goal, and so you can learn from each other. You know, it's not like this is a trade secret. You know, like you can be part of many DAOs at the same time. You can be learning, and you can take the knowledge, and then you can try to improve your one, and then you can, you know, like carry this results to another one. And so that's the benefit of this, you know. Like I saw the interview with Trent about the AI DAOs, and they were talking about spawning child DAOs from one DAO, and then this child DAO has a certain goal, and if it's successful, you know, then it will grow, and if it doesn't, it will die off. And so, like, it's an evolutionary process. And in my opinion, if we talk again in 1 year, make another Sailors Launch podcast, things will be drastically different. And yeah, we will see what will come out of this. I'm looking forward to this. Yes.
DAOs are eating the world, and you just don't know it yet. And I envision a future where people talk, B2B, B2C, but D to D is where it's going. Yeah, DAO to DAO, like it's going to be. I think that's like a really promising future, DAO to DAO.
Yeah, I mean, DAO House introduced something like this, right? Feature so that DAOs can directly, you know, like exchange DAO tokens and so on. So, yeah, there are really, really some advanced projects that are really pushing the boundaries, and that's really good for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we're coming up to the last minutes here. Just to round out, does anybody else have any remarks or questions or comments that that they want to say? Or
I'd love to jump in and just check out oceanprotocol.com and /DAO. And then you can learn more about what we're hacking on, what we're building, the community that we're trying to foster, and dive into our Discord and learn more. And then if you are an Ocean token holder, coming to vote on on the DAO grant proposals is really important for the future of Ocean Protocol. And then diving in, and if you are looking to build something, getting involved in the DAO, and hopefully coming to submit a grant proposal. And all that can be found on oceanprotocol.com/DAO.
Noelle, did you want to say something?
No, I second everything Alex just said. He covered everything. Ocean DAO, it rocks. Check it out.
Yeah, and if we want to start out, check out some of the Ocean DAO town halls as well. I think that's also a good starting point. I mean, to get to know who else is in the ecosystem. And yeah, I mean, sometimes some meetings are different than others, you know. The one after the last round, I remember that one. That was like, one episode for forever, like for the future, you know, like where the energy was so high. And yeah, let's see how things turn out. I mean, the next round is coming up in 1 week, right? So have to get your proposals ready. sooner
Yeah.
rather than later. So yeah.
So when is oh yeah, the next round is literally next week, right?
So yeah, we've migrated just so so for previous rounds, the deadline has been the first of every month at midnight GMT, and so we're moving it the first Tuesday of the month at midnight GMT moving forward. And it just so happens, for Ocean DAO round 6 that it's the first of the month. So we're, just to make it simple for folks as we transition, just because the first Tuesday of the month is going to work a lot better for future rounds. We feel just because we had some feedback from round 5 and 4 around voting going on the weekends and just bad timing, or rather trade-off of timing. So hopefully first Tuesday of the month is perhaps more convenient for folks, but we'll give it some tries. A try, but for June it's the Tuesday the 1st deadline to submit your proposal at midnight GMT, and then we're actually introducing a new timing window for round 6, as we've mentioned on our wiki and town halls, where we're going to have a 2-day due diligence window just on the 2nd and 3rd of the month, where voting, where proposals our deadline is in, but voting will not have started, as opposed to previous rounds. Voting would just start right away after the deadline. But we're going to have a 2-day due diligence window so people can, research and give feedback, and then voting will start and be the same length as normal, so about 3.5 days, and then end at on the 7th month for this round. The 7th at noon GMT. So. About a week of DAO activities, live DAO activities, so to speak.
Oh, that's interesting. And then we have Ocean Town Hall every Wednesday, right?
Exactly, yeah. So you can go learn more about town halls on the town hall page, just from from that oceanprotocol.com/DAO, then go to the wiki and click on town hall, and there are Wednesdays weekly at 3 p.m. GMT. So and the Zoom link is there on that link. So
cool. Yeah. Thanks for being on here, Alex and Noel. It was yeah,
this has been fantastic.
Yeah, we will make another round in a few months to see how the progress is going.
Yeah, come vote for your favorite proposals, and thanks so much, Jim and Robin and Noel, for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Robin.
Yep. All right. So that's going to conclude our episode of the Sailors Lounge. Thank you guys for watching. If you're on YouTube watching this, please like and subscribe. And at the end of this, our show is sponsored by Absentia, and you can go to their website, absentia.com, and check them out more. But yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for watching. Sail away.
Cheers.